or give a lecture. How would you explain the rise of Donald Trump and how he was able to get elected?
I do talk about this in my chapter on tyranny as a triumph of narcissism. It is a triumph of collective narcissism in America, and it's sort of an inevitable turn, historical, political, and psychological turn. And we've seen this before in history. So we have a nation we have a society that's seriously disordered and dysfunctional on so many levels. People are feeling extremely unhappy, unable to prosper and live in peace and see hope for themselves and their children for the future. And things are getting worse for a great majority of the population. There's a certain segment of the population that is excluded from this, and that's the elite. They are victim to their own blindness. And we've seen this in the 2016 election when supporters of Hillary Clinton were so convinced that she would win. There was no question in their minds that that would be the case. So they did not see what was there to see. So we have the troubled society. One aspect of this, of societal disorder, is the lack of values. Disorder has a moral nature. We lose the distinction between right and wrong. We become more and more psychopathic, essentially. Psychopathy is a character defect, essentially, that the main feature of which is the lack of conscience. So psychopaths are people who are incapable of experiencing empathy, guilt, and shame, but also, and equally importantly, if not more importantly, they are not capable of understanding and appreciating higher values and pro-social emotions. So psychopathic values, so-called values, they are not really values, they are goals, are greed, power, and sex, usually. So this is what motivates psychopaths. And society, disordered society, becomes more and more organized around those goals. And it is a fact that American society has been driven by these three major pursuits.
What are some clear, concrete examples?
The growing inequality between the haves and the have-nots. So you have a society where people don't have access to healthcare, or they cannot afford healthcare even if they may have access to it. Education, access to decent education, higher education is beyond the reach of most people. And so those are aspects of this societal disorder and callousness. The social bonds are frayed and everybody is out for themselves. And it's deepening. Trump administration is not going to make it any better, on the contrary.
Why do you think there still is this deep reluctance among many of the quote-unquote professional smart people and others, I would dare say the general public as well, especially his supporters, that's a given, to seriously engage questions about his mental health and how his behavior is impacting others?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. I think the answer to this is that there are probably several answers to this. There's somebody on my Twitter feed yesterday commented that being silent is safe, for one. So you don't risk your professional reputation. You're okay with respect to professional bodies, for example, or your neighbors who may not agree with you, and shelter yourself from ostracism from various sides. So that's one reason, I think, the feeling of safety. The other one is difficulty, I think, even among professionals, to recognize character defects, specifically psychopathic-like character defects, those that impact the development of our conscience. And I watched this in 2015 and 2016, and it was astounding to me in some ways because my clinical thinking has been influenced by a Polish psychiatrist and psychologist whose name is Kazimierz Dąbrowski, and he spent quite a lot of time studying psychopathy. And one of his conclusions was that our inability to recognize the psychological type of a psychopath is the cause of all kinds of social disorders, including war, genocide, oppression. And so Trump's character, his lack of conscience, has not been recognized by professional lay people alike, has been quite interesting, I have to say. I'm not sure what the explanations are for this. I think that, again, it has something to do with the fact that American society is organized around those psychopathic-like goals of accumulating power and wealth and competing with one another.
Is it just like you said, so you have the professional fears, And then, as I said, I'll offer up a hypothesis. As you said, I think obviously a lot of this is denial. And I think among the general public and the media, and here's why Trump is so successful, he was the wrong person at the wrong time. So you have a culture, as you said, this culture of cruelty. People are socially marginalized and alienated. And he's a showman. He's entertaining. And he's a pathological liar. And he is really given permission. As I said, he's an avatar of sorts of the worst of human nature. And he's really given people permission to act out on this behavior. So to criticize Trump